It is ready to rock and roll. Who will qualify for the Europe Cup after this best of 5 PAFFIX or NEF? It is time to head into this BO5 with Sam, with Say. Let's do this thing.
Here we go. There was an easy fix in the quarterfinals, but NEFing is out of the question for a semi-finals, right? As we have NEF versus PAFFIX here. Tian Lang and Oliver Preband say.
Yeah, I definitely forgot to mention that unit as well. That Tian Lang, that worked so well against Glorious. Now Preband. NEF going for that speed lead. Okay, we have that more in there on the other side. PAFFIX is also still saying, I'm still playing that speed game on like Fast, Fio and Despair units that you see over there. NEF has that budget available. Definitely does pick it up with that segment.
Exactly, choosing the units that we've seen before from the previous match, which did him really well, especially the segment landing a lot of things. Julian and Raccoony, response from PAFFIX.
Definitely do like the Julian plus Raccoony because the side of NEF is not showing too much damage yet. You could go for the AoE spread and going for full AoE CC, which we see with the Chungpong, but you would have to add another unit to that does enough AoE CC. And with those units, you kind of have to signal that you're already banning out that Hey Gang. PAFFIX, do you pick up another passive unit? Could be that Camilla, could be a Maya Wang, could be a lot of units. Maybe even going for that Fire Cookie, also known as Lucia, which prevents the Chungpong from doing too much work.
Exactly, so NEF did lock in a Han there as well alongside his Chungpong. PAFFIX taking a little bit longer now to figure out. Locking in a Miles.
The Miles is pretty interesting because you're not really playing too much for turn 1, and I think it's very comfortable for NEF in this position to simply ban out the Hey Gang. Other side we have the Chungpong. Actually not, we have that Raccoony being banned, so we have no sustain on either side. Well, we have the sustain of the Wadjet, of course, which is going to be very impactful on this match.
Here we go then, we're going into the first semi-final of today. It is NEF versus PAFFIX. Sekhmet, does she land?
Does she land? That's always the question. Probably aims for that cigar. Does not aim for the cigar, but aims for the Hey Gang. Pretty interesting as well, but removing those potential glancing hits is very beneficial, but still managed to land that stun.
Wow, here we go. So we're into Han. Who's he going to look to? He's going to go for Miles. Resisted.
Miles. Yeah, probably 100% resistance Miles, so a lot more difficult to land. Is probably gonna go for those stun potentials on that Miles as well. On the Julian, it doesn't work. Double resist as well.
Wow, huge resist there. Cigar's got all skills available. Gonna be most likely going into the Han. Let's get rid of him out of the field with that defense break.
Yeah, defense break, interesting choice. Definitely a right choice right there. Going for that defense break, which is the skill 2 of that Cigar. Aiming for the defense break, removing all of the damage or the main damage dealer on the side of NEF. And NEF is definitely fighting a more difficult battle right now, even though that Moore is doing quite some damage across the field. But Julian on low HP is not the biggest of problems.
Exactly, he's going to cleanse himself and take a turn unless we can push him back, which is maybe what Wedjack needs to do. Miles coming up now with glancing. Procs out.
Yeah, Miles definitely does not care about the glancing. His damage is pretty much fixed on the speed that he has. And he's doing a lot of chip damage to that Sekhmet right there.
Ooh, missing pushback, and Julian's going to come in with skill 1 available.
Not too much damage from that skill bomb, but we're waiting for that skill 2 that's coming up next. The skill 2 of the Julian does an immense amount of damage. The moment he gets that one off, it's probably gone for one of those units on the enemy side.
And we land glancing from Hey Gang on everywhere. Oh, and a big stun on Moore.
Big stun on Moore, and that's probably going to be another big stun over here, and nearly killing that unit right off the bat as well.
Wow, here we go. Wedjack, not really much you can do at the moment. Oh.
Except that healing. That healing is definitely still holding strong, but the healing is not enough right now. Your units are kind of low on the HP, and you definitely have to make something work with the damage that you potentially have on that Moore.
Here we go then. So Wedjack has got another turn. He has got glancing on, but he's gonna go onto Julian. Glancing hit.
Didn't land, however. Julian's gonna get a little bit of healing over there. Gets the proc, has the potential to go for the Moore. Stuns the Moore. Moore's not gonna take a turn. And that is probably going to be game and the victory for PAFFIX. Sealing the deal with another Vile proc. Pushing back those units. Landing double provokes. And definitely nothing can touch the Miles right now. Nothing can touch the Julian right now. And based on that, I would definitely say that this victory goes in the favor of PAFFIX.
Yeah, here we go. You can just see how much damage Julian, and a proc into a stun is something you can't control there. As we see PAFFIX taking the win in the first set. Does NEF need to get rid of Julian, or do you think he has an answer for it?
I definitely do think you have to get rid of Julian, because even when you had arguably your strongest unit on the field, that Wadjet, you still couldn't deal with that Julian because it was just so much damage. There's downtimes where you don't have the defense buff, where you don't have the anti-crit buff. Julian is going to shred through your units, do so much damage every other turn. Is that stun? Is that so much damage potential? If there's an armor break, instantly losing that Han didn't do anything on the fight, and that's exactly what we see there as well. We have the respect ban of both the Julian and the Wedget.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense right now. Get rid of the units which did the best for both players, even though it worked better for PAFFIX during that last match. And we're going to be having first pick on PAFFIX, going for a Vanessa speed lead.
Definitely showing once again that speed game that both of the players do. We also see it on the opposing side. Probably stealing that Hagen. Yeah, I was going to say that because that's one of those units that's just very difficult to deal with in current meta. But now we have that Tian Lang available, plus taking that Cigar on the side of PAFFIX.
Exactly. So this is what NEF must have been preparing for after watching the first matches, deciding for a Kinky and a Raccoony.
I definitely do like that Kinky in there. Everything on the field is somewhat difficult to deal with the Kinky, but on the other hand, Tian Lang kind of deals with that as well. Same for the Raccoony. So definitely, there is already somewhat of a force ban on that Tian Lang, and that is something that PAFFIX can utilize from saying like, okay, I already know what you're probably banning if I pick 2 good units right now.
Exactly, and he's looking to try and lock in Dark Robo and following it up with a Mei Hu Wang.
Definitely do like to see that Mei Wang in there. The only issue I could see is that it's maybe slightly difficult to get rid of that Kinky right here. And NEF is gonna have to take a good 5th pick that can maybe deal with the whole team. A Douglas has potential, but against the Mei Wang is still pretty difficult.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what he figures. He's going for maybe his brother more? No, deciding not to go with it in the end. We saw yesterday as well actually say the Kinky build either a Vio or a Despair. Do you think that could be also a potential factor for this?
In this case, both builds are fine. The big factor about the match yesterday was that you're playing against immunity. In this case, you're not playing against immunity, so Despair is as fine as Violent. For bans, however, I'm not entirely sure. That Hagang might be a ban, but also Raccoony, removing that general healing is very strong. Other side, I would say that Tian Lang.
Tian Lang and Kinky have both gone, meaning that we've got 33% speed leads for both of the guys as we go into set 2, NEF versus PAFFIX.
So in this match, it's going to be very interesting interaction between, is the Moor going to do enough damage to clear the enemy side, and is the Raccoony enough healing? Or is it going to be that far in the match where the Mei Wang starts to decide to do an insane amount of damage? The moment he gets his skill through, it's just going to be so much work right there. And we did not get that strip on that Robo.
Yeah, that's huge for it. Resisted from Raccoony though, and we're going to be going into likely second skill with Robo.
Yeah, I would definitely go for that Robo skill too here. You want to go for those pushbacks even though it's slightly pushed up. But we have that stun once again on the opposing element. Having that stun from water into wind was very crucial for our NEF right there.
Exactly, managing now with Oliver to put cool times into that Robo. So he's back to square one and getting Cigar as well.
In this case, it was slightly interesting to see that more skill 1 going into the Vanessa. If you do that on the monkey's gonna perform a lot less damage. However, it's going to be that scenario of, if I kind of have to kill that Vanessa first, so I have to tumble all of the damage into that Vanessa. And that's just that Vanessa skill 3 passive, which revives one of your units and makes it somewhat difficult to clear out any of the other units first. However, in most cases, that Vanessa is a lot more tanky than any of the other units on the field.
Exactly, you've got to balance out, right? Does it make more sense? We've got a proc from Cigar here. Skill 2 is available now, with Moor going to be taking the next turn.
Does decide to go for that armor break on that Oliver. It's only a 1-turn armor break, but since the monkey is going that much for the pass, it starts to stack up a lot of speed and therefore outspeeds, does a good amount of damage on that armor break. But with that attack break that was on there already, it does a little bit less damage. However, on the side of PAFFIX, there's no healing. The side of NEF does have that Raccoony, slowly chipping up a little bit more HP here and there every time it takes a turn. So that could definitely be a winning factor as well. Same as the Oliver, taking multiple cores, absorbing that full attack bar right there as well. And then having the potential to do that once more on that skill 2, slight bit of attack bar, but we keep cycling.
Exactly, it seems like Oliver's trying to control everything that he can. Obviously we know the monkey, now with a glancing on there as well, he's going to be doing less damage.
Yeah, the monkey is definitely going to have quite some difficulty in the damage. The Oliver is very nicely controlling pretty much the whole battlefield. And therefore I definitely see this match going in the favor of NEF at this moment with that Raccoony that just keeps getting in, healing in, and the monkey has difficulties of actually doing the damage.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Cigar trying to come back with a response though. He has skill 2 available and skill 1. Is he going to look to provoke or land a defense break somewhere? Gets it on Hagang, but Raccoony's there.
Yeah, definitely the choice of putting that on the Heigang was the idea. I place it on Heigang, Raccoon will heal the lowest HP unit, and therefore it will start healing the Heigang. However, Raccoon says, you proc, I proc, and I will heal both of my allies.
Yeah, Raccoon's doing so much healing and so much good stuff here for NEF. It's going to be really difficult for PAFFIX with all these glancing and attack breaks. How do you see it ending out, say?
To be honest, I think it will be a little bit longer, but at some point the monkey doesn't get enough turns. It does keep having that glancing, that attack buff, exactly as you mentioned. And the damage on the side of NEF is not that much, but slowly but surely taking out all of the units on the side of PAFFIX.
Exactly, it's going to be back down to Mehuan, see if he can come up with some brilliance, but it was a good draft in the end, I would say, for NEF.
Yeah, definitely a good draft on the side of NEF, and the main thing which really focused good on this draft was having that Kinky in there plus that Raccoon, because either or was kind of the must ban, and either or would have been hard to be dealt with. So you have to ban one, and therefore it is difficult to deal with the other one, and that is going to be the victory for NEF going into a 1-1.
Wow, 1-1, bringing it back. I think we're going to have the same trend as yesterday, right, guys? We're going to go into the 3-2s. We want to see as many of these sets as possible. We need the guys to earn their right to get to the Europe Cup in Paris, and that's exactly what they're doing. We will be having Julian and Wedget back in the frame for this next set. Do you think they're highly likely to be picked, right, say?
Yeah, definitely likely to be picked, and also the same bans as the first round. So if we look at exactly the same thing as what happened in the first round, PAFFIX might have a slight upper hand with the Tianlang not being on the field, but also the Wedget in there is going to be difficult. Julian is in there, but in this case NEF is like, okay, you like to pick that Heigang, I also like to pick that Heigang, that definitely works for me. Other hand, we like to go for that Raccoon early, interesting.
It seems like Raccoon and Sagar. So Raccoon is trading hands each time, and Sagar is definitely picked by PAFFIX. NEF looking at a Chongpeng right now, and maybe following up with...
Slightly early of a Chongpeng, I would say, because it's hard to use into the Raccoon. It is also potentially being reset by the Sagar, whereas Sagar, skill 1 has high value. Chongpeng, skill 1 doesn't have too high value. And NEF is slightly indecisive with his picks, but does go in the end with that Chongpeng and that Wedget.
Yeah, he needs to take his time to figure exactly what he wanted to do there, but it's all fine. You've still got your 30 seconds. He's just managed to get one set back, so it's 1-1. Let's see now what PAFFIX is going to respond with.
Yeah, definitely PAFFIX will go back to that Julian. Might go for the Vanessa, that's also a pocket pick that he really likes to utilize. Actually goes for the Shizuka.
Wow, Shizuka's in there as well. So we saw how much damage Julian did before. Do you think it's something that NEF is going to try and play around to ban out?
Yeah, definitely it's going to be something that you probably have to ban. Also, PAFFIX has to show another damage potential in the slot 5, otherwise he will be lacking damage for sure. NEF in this case also goes for his damage potential because he was lacking that as well. Does he go for double damage? In this case, that's definitely an option to go for.
Yeah, let's see who he locks into. He's got Han, and he's got Praha. I do know that Praha is very efficiently built.
Yeah, that's definitely a solid unit there as well. And PAFFIX goes for the Antares. Interestingly enough, decides to ban out the main damage. And he's gonna play on like, okay, you don't show too much damage. Antares at some point is gonna take turns and therefore take my victory in this third round of PAFFIX against NEF. Let's see how much this Antares can do.
Wow, so we've got Wedget moving first. When is Antares gonna call on his action? Not yet.
Definitely not yet. Interesting proc on the Praha. Doesn't do all too much yet. So the big question is, we have a stunned Antares. He's not gonna do all too much.
I had a little answer, but that stun was huge with all the strips for Chongpeng to follow up, right?
Yeah, definitely. And Antares would have to take a lot of turns because he's also fighting the uphill battle of that glancing, of those anti-crits, all of those kind of things.
2.1k damage there, say?
That is a lot of damage for Praha. Like, Praha is the most difficult artifact build to do a lot of damage on any of the oracles. Doing 2.1s on her is insanely high, and we did already say goodbye to the Antares. And therefore, I definitely do think that this match is early decided, simply because there's no damage on the side on PAFFIX right now.
I mean, there's going to be some debuffs getting thrown around again here. But like you said, if there's no damage, it's just not really going to do much.
Yeah, and in the end, we have Wedget on the field, and Wedget says, debuffs for me, I like those. I'll heal my whole team on those. So that's going to be very difficult to get any damage in. You have the potential of reviving that Antares, but you revive without the passive, so it doesn't do all too much in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have the Heigang move in now. Does he get... Okay, nothing, but then we're into Chongpeng skill 1.
Yeah, this is going to take a little bit more time. We have the healing from both sides. Actually, we have the Praha healing on one side together with that Jet, but we also have the healing of Praha. Other side, we have that Raccoon. Ateris comes back. Can you kill him that skill 1? Goes for the skill 2. Skill 2 doesn't do enough damage because you didn't have that attack buff, you didn't have that crit buff. That he actually needs to do all of the damage, but a very good attempt to actually get the damage in there.
Yeah, it's nice that Praha's trying to cycle to heal back up for... Oh, big stun on Cigar.
A huge stun on Cigar. If the Changpong takes a second turn right now, did not take the second turn, but it will have the skill 3 available in that next turn. You have a lot of cycling going on with that Jet, and that Changpong will take the next turn. Pra goes so many double turns, goes for that Daydream, full heal pretty much on the team of NEF, and I think that will seal the deal, especially if all of those units are being pushed back by the Changpong right now. So much AoE damage, goes for that procer, goes for a potential armor breaker, lands 2 of them, and that's definitely going to be a very difficult position from PAFFIX to come back from.
Wow, so NEF had an answer for Julian this time round. Ban him out, and then I'll control everything else around it, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is the best strategy against something? Don't play against it. That's what we see here, and it definitely worked out for NEF in this case, as we go into that victory for NEF.
Wow, there we go. So we've already had a slight comeback to get to the 2-1. But remember, this is a best of 5, therefore you need to get to 3 matches won. Let's see if then, as we're going to potentially the deciding set for NEF against PAFFIX, and we're likely going to see the same bans again, do you think? Wedgeat and Julian?
Yeah, I definitely do think the Julian will be removed off the field right now, especially because NEF knows that was the most difficult unit to deal with. On the other hand, we have that Jet also shown as one of the most difficult units to deal with. There's no real good, clear answer to that unit, so just once again, banning it out is definitely an answer.
Exactly. If you don't want to face it, ban it out, and then let's deal with the rest. Do we see a Hey Gang? Yes, we do.
Yeah, we definitely are hard contesting on those Hey Gangs and those Raccoonies in this matchup, so definitely units that I do think will be picked up on the field. In this case, slightly different pace of NEF with going with the Shizuka early and that Oliver. PAFFIX, do you go back to the Cigar or those kind of units? Yes, definitely goes back to the Cigar with that speed lead. NEF, Raccoonies, Junos, anything along that line, or do we go heavy damage or maybe that Han?
Yeah, let's see what he's deciding. Well, there's a Raccoonie coming out and the Kinky again.
Kinky, once again, that unit that showed like, okay, you have to show 2 units right now that can deal both with the Kinky and with that Raccoonie. Miles is definitely one of those units that can deal with both, and Tian Lang, same thing. I like that draft.
There you go, good draft. Oh, we see a Leo.
So Leo definitely signals that you're going to ban out that Tian Lang. Other side, most likely that Leo has to be banned. Actually bans out the Cigar. Pretty interesting as well. Cigar was the main opponent for the Shizuka. However, a Raccoonie on the field against Tian Lang might be somewhat difficult as well.
Here we go then. Miles taking first turn for PAFFIX. Who's he going to probably target? Are we going to see Shizuka?
Yeah, probably Shizuka, even though it's a hard target because she has that 100% resistance plus the Raccoonie moves afterwards. In this case, the main damage is going to come from, I guess, the Miles. Tian Lang has armor break potential into good damage, but on the other side we have that Kinky, and the Kinky we have seen mainly yesterday. At some point it takes a little bit of time for him to get online, but the moment he goes for that skill 1 into a skill 2, we have that armor break into a lot of damage, and that might seal the deal here in this match at quite a bit later than right now as well.
Exactly, he has got glancing on right now, but it's not so effective, and he's going to be... We need to see now what build he's on, right, Say?
Yeah, the build is going to be pretty important. Also, the Shizuka did not move in front of the Kinky, which would have had the potential of an AoE armor break into a Kinky skill 2, which is the AoE damage that does a lot of damage. But in this case, it's really going to be on Miles. Can you do enough damage while not having any sustain on your side, fighting that Raccoonie that is also chipping away quite some damage by that Miles right there?
He is. I'm still intrigued. I want to see what build is on that Kinky. We didn't see any stun and we didn't see a violent yet.
Yeah, definitely did not see that yet, but also were not needed as of this moment. This is definitely going to be the fight. Can you remove the sustain on the enemy side? And that's where we can start bruisering out the rest of the match, because one side does not have any sustain, so you have to keep working on removing that sustain on your opposing side before you can actually start hitting any of the other units.
Yeah, here we go. So we're going into a Kinky. I think it might be violent if he's going for first skill to maybe go into a second.
I actually do think that he is probably on violent as well, because if you would go for skill 2, you're trying to AoE despair, so definitely do think that as well. And in this case, he's trying to get the damage, same as what we saw in the last match. Did not get that armor break twice. This Tian Lang is not on too much of accuracy. However, the damage in there is just multi-hits, it's additional damage artifacts. Tian Lang decides to do a lot of damage, and that's actually missing the pushback on the cool time on that Hey Gang. So we're not gonna have the turns on the Oliver anytime soon, because we have a 4-turn cooldown on that skill too. However, Kinky is still there. Kinky is just left, right, simply chipping a lot of damage away. Plus, the Kinky in the late game is hard to deal with. We have that Vanessa, probably 100% resistance as well. Kinky is not landing on any armor breaks.
Now they are the one Shizuka, and she... Oh, but it's okay. Hey Gang's following up. She's gone.
Yeah, she's definitely gone. That is definitely one unit out of the field. Actually decided not to go for the sustain, but killing a unit that was slightly easier to hit. On the other side, we still have that Kinky deciding, in this case, to go for the skill 2, but was slightly missing the damage to actually have enough there as well.
Exactly, so it means that Vanessa now will go. Rakuni procs out.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the fight at some point of the Miles against the Kinky, because those are the two units that also counter each other and do the most damage. But this Tian Lang can be potentially putting some stuns, does not land the stun, does not get armor broken in that process as well, because that would have been devastating.
Wow, here we go then. Miles is going to come through. Like you said, he's going to be needed. Gets a stun.
Gets a huge stun and a lot of damage potential on that Kinky right now. The stun will be removed if that Kinky is lower HP than that Rakuni, which is very hard to see at this moment. It was the case. Very well played by PAFFIX to hit that Rakuni to keep the stun up longer from the Kinky, because the Kinky in this case cannot revenge. If you do a lot of damage, decides to not go for the Kinky, decides to let the Kinky live and maybe take out that Rakuni. Takes out the Rakuni, but the Kinky will have a turn in a second as well. Will be up for potential stunners, potential armor breakers, potential a lot of damage.
Oh, that's a lot from Miles though coming in right now. And if Tian Lang, I would go for it, no? Try get it.
Would you seal the deal? I think Tian Lang would probably not do enough damage. PAFFIX definitely does agree. He would be like, okay, the Miles can actually deal with it. The moment the Miles takes one turn, it's sealing the deal. However, the Oliver is still with that pushback there. Does land the pushback, slightly bit of damage. Tian Lang S2 would definitely seal the deal. Tian Lang S1 would also seal the deal. And that is going to be the victory for PAFFIX, most likely. We have seen Oliver do more incredible things, even to fire units. But in this case, you have that Tian Lang on the field. There's less cycling, and that is sealing the deal for PAFFIX. 2 against 2, going all the way best of 5 once more.
Yes, we have another best of 5 say. I'm excited to see this one. NEF versus PAFFIX. Oh, that was a good game in the end, that one. We can see now that we're going to have Julian and Wedget back. We're probably going to see again Oliver leaving and not being on there. Hey Gang will be a highly contested unit again. It's right in itself, say. Do you expect the same?
Yeah, definitely. I expect the Oliver ban, I expect the Tian Lang ban, unless they try to switch things up. And then the first pick, which is going to NEF in this case. We can also pre-ban it. I definitely do like that idea by PAFFIX. He's like, okay, the Oliver was annoying, but I could maybe also play around it. I'm also not 100% sure if NEF will see it as a contested pick to first pick up that Oliver right now. But probably NEF will be like, I don't like playing against that Oliver, I'd rather have that Oliver. Response of PAFFIX. We go for Chunk Pong and more, which is very common what we see on ladder.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you can't have it, I'll have it. We saw last time that Praha, how much damage she was doing, showing how good these artifacts are. Partnering it with a cigar. We're going very wind and water heavy at the moment.
Yeah, definitely for PAFFIX to pick up a Rakuni Meowing right now could definitely be units that are dealing with that. However, we also have that Julian potentially on the field. I rather like to pick Julian in the 3rd and 4th slot, because if you want to pick it in the 5th slot, it doesn't always fit. If you pick it your LD5 in your 3rd and 4th slot, you can kind of draft around it if it doesn't fit that well. Plus, that unit is gonna have the best runes of PAFFIX, do a lot of work. Being picked up, however, on the other side, we have that Rakuni. Maybe a Meowing could kind of work.
Let's see. He's deciding maybe for a Vertihill.
Vertihill definitely fits as well. We have 2 units that are wind with AoEs. We have 1 other unit with also an AoE, but that's water, slightly difficult to hit. But it is... we go back to the Antares. And I definitely like the Antares here. In the last game, I didn't like it as much. But in this game, I think it might be a must ban, because the Rakuni is taking so many turns. Vertihill is taking so many turns. Removing that Praha, the Antares would have had free reign. And I absolutely like an Antares pick right there.
Wow, you're going to have to control Julian though, right? He cannot take a turn because he's going to do a lot of stuff when he does manage to take that turn. Etna moving first.
Yeah, definitely going to be difficult to control all of that Julian, but you do have those pushback potentials, and pushback is actually, you have a lot of pushbacks. No, I actually really like the draft of NEF right here. You have the pushback potential, you have the Vert for the push-up potential, you have the Raccoon for the push-up potential, you have Raccoon for the speed buff potential, you have Oliver for the pushback potential. I think this match is gonna look a lot like NEF is gonna take 1,000 turns, and PAFFIX is gonna be waiting for that one turn that you can do with Julian. But we do know, you are a Julian owner as well, Sam. You do know that the pushbacks is the hardest counter on that Julian. And we have two great pushback units over here, but we have that third Raccoon sitting next to it. Missing that pushback, however, that is very detrimental. However, we have so much more stuff going on. The big question is, how much can we do on that Julian when everything is full HP?
And he's going to take a turn. He's going to come in, but he's going to reset.
Yeah, that's the thing. He needs those proccers to actually get anywhere, because otherwise every turn he will take Oliver, I would be resetting left, right, center any day of the week. We even boosting up the Verde heal for more cycling. We keep the train rolling 24/7, 7 days a week, all the time. And with that we have so many pushbacks, and PAFFIX is trying to play this game. But PAFFIX or NEF is simply saying, I got all of the units on the field to deny you all of those turns. And he's even deciding like, your Athena can take a turn, can take a hit. I don't mind, I'll deal with that unit later. I just keep cycling. Oliver keeps pushing back all of those attack bar. Play it very smart. Don't take, definitely do take your time. Did not get the increase there as well. But man, there's just so much going on. And this is going to be definitely in the favor of NEF.
Wow, what a crazy, like, just an obvious strategy that's working so well right now. Allow Julian through, but you won't take a turn, and when you do take a turn, you only get skill 1.
Exactly, and well, we had one strategy that worked against Julian, ban it. Now we have two strategies that work against Julian. Never get a turn and destroy the whole team. And with that, we're definitely going into the victory of NEF.
Wow, NEF, that is huge for him. I'm so happy for NEF right now.
NEF has done it and is qualified for the Europe Cup, beating out 3-2